No man should go through life without once experiencing healthy, even bored solitude in the wilderness, finding himself depending solely on himself and thereby learning his true and hidden strength. Learning, for instance, to eat when he's hungry and sleep when he's sleepy. Also around bedtime was my singing time. I'd pace up and down the well-worn path in the dust of my rocks, singing all the show tunes I could remember, at the top of my voice too, with nobody to hear except the deer and the bear. In the red dust, the mountains were symphonies in pink snow. Jack Mountain, Three Fools Peak, Freeze Out Peak, Golden Horn, Mount Terror, Mount Fury, Mount Despair, Crooked Thumb Peak, Mount Challenger, and the incomparable Mount Baker, bigger than the world in the distance, and my own little jackass ridge that completed the ridge of desolation. Pink snow and the clouds all distant and frilly like ancient remote cities of Buddha land splendor, and the wind working incessantly, whish, whish, booming at times, rattling my shack. For supper I made chop suey and baked some biscuits. Put the leftovers in a pan for deer that came in the moonlit night and nibbled like big strange cows of peace, long-antlered buck and does and babies too. As I meditated in the alpine grass facing the magic moon-lane lake, I could see firs reflected in the moonlit lake 5,000 feet below, upside down, pointing to infinity. And all the insects ceased in honor of the moon. 63 sunsets I saw revolve on that perpendicular hill, mad raging sunsets pouring in sea foams of cloud through unimaginable crags like the crags you gravely drew in pencil as a child, with every rose tint of hope beyond, making you feel just like them, brilliant and bleak beyond words. Cold mornings with clouds billowing out of lightning gorge, like smoke from a giant fire, but the lake cerulean as ever. August comes in with a blast that shakes your house and augurs little augusticity. Then that snowy air and wood smoke feeling. Then the snow comes sweeping your way from Canada, and the wind rises and dark low clouds rush up out of a forge. Suddenly a green rose rainbow appears right on your ridge with steamy clouds all around and an orange sun turmoiling. What is a rainbow, Lord? A hoop for the lowly? And you go out and suddenly your shadow is ringed by the rainbow as you walk on the hilltop, a lovely hallowed mystery making you want to pray. A blade of grass jiggling in the winds of infinity anchored to a rock, and for your own poor gentle flesh no answer, your oil lamp burning in infinity. One morning I found bare stool and signs of where the monster had taken a can of frozen milk and squeezed it in his paws and bit into it with one sharp tooth, trying to suck out the paste. In the foggy dawn I looked down the mysterious ridge of starvation, with its fog-lost firs and its hills humping into invisibility, and the wind blowing the fog by like a faint blizzard, and I realized that somewhere in the fog stalked a bear. And it seemed as I sat there that this was the primordial bear, and that he owned all the Northwest and all the snow and commanded all the mountains. He was King Bear, who could crush my head in his paws and crack my spine like a stick, and this was his house, his yard, his domain. Though I looked all day, he would not show himself in the mystery of those silent foggy slopes. He prowled at night among unknown lakes, and in the early morning the pearl pure light that shadowed mountainsides of fir made him blink with respect. He had millenniums of prowling here behind him. He had seen the Indians and redcoats come and go, and would see much more. He continuously heard the reassuring rapturous rush of silence, except when near creeks. He was aware of the light material the world is made of, yet he never discoursed, nor communicated by signs, nor wasted a breath complaining. He just nibbled and pawed and lumbered along snags, paying no attention to things inanimate or animate. His big mouth chewed in the night. I could hear it across the mountain in the starlight. Soon he would come out of the fog, huge, and come and stare in my window with big burning eyes. He was Avalokiteshvara, the bear, and his sign was the gray wind of autumn. I was waiting for him. He never came. Finally, in the autumn's rains, all-night gales of soaking rain, as I lie warm as toast in my sleeping bag, and the morning's open cold, wild fall days with high wind, racing fogs, racing clouds, sun-bright sun, pristine light on hill patches, and my fire crackling as I exult and sing at the top of my voice. Outside my window, wind-swept chipmunk sits up straight on a rock, hands clasped, he nibbles an oat between his paws, the little nutty lord of all he surveys. Thinking of the stars night after night, I begin to realize the stars are words, and all the innumerable worlds in the Milky Way are words, and so is this world too. And I realize that no matter where I am, whether in a little room full of thought, or in this endless universe of stars and mountains, it's all in my mind. There's no need for solitude. So love life for what it is, and form no preconceptions whatever in your mind. What strange, sweet thoughts come to you in the mountain solitudes? One night I realized that when you give people understanding and encouragement, a funny little meek, childish look abashes their eyes. No matter what they've been doing, they weren't sure it was right. Lammies all over the world. For when you realize that God is everything, you know that you've got to love everything no matter how bad it is, in the ultimate sense it was neither good nor bad. Consider the dust. It was just what was, that is, what was made to appear. Some kind of drama to teach something to something, some despised substance of divinest show. And I realized I didn't have to hide myself in desolation, but could accept society for better or for worse, like a wife. I saw that if it wasn't for the six senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, and thinking, the self of that which is non-existence, there would be no phenomena to perceive at all. In fact, no six senses or self. The fear of extinction is much worse than extinction, death itself. To chase after extinction in the old nirvanic sense of Buddhism is ultimately silly, as the dead indicate in the silence of their blissful sleep in Mother Earth, which is an angel hanging in orbit in heaven anyway. I just lay on the mountain meadow side in the moonlight, head to grass, and heard the silent recognition of my temporary woes. Yes, so to try to attain to nirvana when you're already there, to attain to the top of a mountain when you're already there and only have to say, stay. Thus, to stay in the nirvana bliss is all I have to do. You have to do no effort, no path, really, no discipline, but just to know that all is empty and awake, a vision and a movie in God's universal mind, halaya visyana. And to stay more or less wisely in that. Because silence itself is the sound of diamonds which can cut through anything. The sound of holy emptiness, the sound of extinction and bliss, that graveyard silence which is the silence of an infant's smile, the sound of eternity, of the blessedness surely to believe, the sound of nothing ever happened except God, which I'd soon hear in a noisy Atlantic tempest. What exists is God in his emanation. What does not exist is God in his peaceful neutrality, and what neither exists nor does not exist is God's immortal primordial dawn of Father Sky. This world is very minute. So I said, stay in that. No dimensions here to any of the mountains or mosquitoes and whole Milky Ways of worlds, because sensation is emptiness, old age is emptiness, tease only the golden eternity of God's mind. So practice kindness and sympathy. Remember that men are not responsible in themselves as men for their ignorance and unkindness. They should be pitied. God does pity it, because who says anything about anything since everything is just what it is, free of interpretations? God is not the attainer, he is the farer, in that which everything is the abider. One caterpillar, 1,000 hairs of God. So know constantly that this is only you, God, empty and awake and eternally free as the innumerable atoms of emptiness everywhere. I decided that when I would go back to the world down there, I tried to keep my mind clear in the midst of murky human ideas smoking like factories on the horizon, though which I would walk forward. When I came down in September, a cool old golden look had come into the forest, auguring cold snaps and frost and the eventual howling blizzard that would cover my shack completely, unless those winds at the top of the world would keep her bald. As I reached the bend in the trail where the shack would disappear and I would plunge down to the lake and meet the boat that would take me out and home, I turned and blessed Desolation Peak and the little pagoda on top and thanked them for the shelter and the lesson I'd been taught.